a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold, and she's buying a stairway to heaven. When she gets there, she knows if the stores are all closed, with a word she can get what she came. She's buying a stairway here. There's a sign on the wall, but she wants to be sure, 'cause you know sometimes words have two meanings. In a tree by the brook, there's a songbird who sings. Sometimes all of our thoughts are misgiven. There's a feeling I get when I look to the west, and my spirit is crying for leaving. In my thoughts I have seen rings of smoke through the trees, and the voices of those who stand looking. Soon, if we all call the tune, then the piper will lead us to reason, and a new day will dawn for those who stand long, and the forests will echo with laughter. Don't be alone there. It's just a sprinkling for the May Queen. Yes, there are two paths you can go by, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on. And it makes me wonder, you don't know, the piper's calling you to join him. Dear lady, can you hear the wind blow? And did you know your stairway lies on the whispering wind?
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand? A rough and ready sort of bloke, Andrew is his name. He liked to chat and socialise, and always seemed the same. Never in a striped suit and tie, formal clothes he never wore. No airs or graces about him. He's the larrikin who swore. We respect him for who he is, a good, down-to-earth bloke. To him laughter came easily, and he loves a bloody good joke. Tall, broad-shouldered, a great big beard, but with little hair. Without a god or religion, yet he seemed free of care. He's a bit rough around the edges, but his heart's in the right place, as carefree as a sunny summer's day, with a big smile on his face. He's known as Reid, and a happy man was he. He didn't mind getting dirty, and he always seemed carefree. A character in his own right, as everyone would know, and would greet you on the road with a big smile and a hello. This afternoon we meet as a group of people who have known and who have loved Andrew Rodney Reid. We are here today to mourn his death, but we're also here to honour his life. A funeral service such as this is an opportunity for us to join together in taking our leave of somebody who we have loved and respected. But it's more than that. It's a celebration of Andrew's life and his personality. It's a time to comfort his family and his friends who are grieving his passing. And so on behalf of Denise and Brad and the extended family, I welcome you here this afternoon as you have joined with them to honour Andrew's life. For those of you who are watching this service via live stream or perhaps at a later time, I welcome you also, as your presence is just as valued whether you are here today in person or in spirit. If I could ask that you take a moment to double check that your phones have been turned off or onto silent as your mark of respect for Andrew, that would be great. Today I ask us to be honest with death. Let's not pretend that death is less than it is. It is separation, it's sadness, it's grief. But let's neither pretend that death is more than it is. It is not annihilation. As long as memory endures, Andrew's influence will be felt and it will live on. It's not an end to happiness or laughter, for nothing would less honour a person such as Andrew than to make our lives drab in his memory. Let's be honest with death, for in that honesty we will understand Andrew better and ourselves more deeply. There are many things that come together to make a town, and this probably seems a little bit off track at the moment, but there's things like infrastructure and roads and buildings and parks, services like the fire brigade, police and paramedics. There's shops and there's events and festivals, markets and shows. But most importantly, I think it's the people, the characters, the identities, the people whose names are synonymous with the name of that town. Brad told me it only took a walk down the main street of Wynyard with Andrew to find out that he was one of those people. And so with this in mind, I'd like to invite Amanda, Andrew's cousin, to come forward to share a little bit of the family's story of Andrew's life.
Thank you. As already mentioned, my name is Amanda and I'm Denise's niece and Brad and Andrew's cousin. Brad has prepared this eulogy today and he's asked that I deliver it on his behalf, so these are his words. Andrew Rodney Reid was born on the 9th of February 1982 to mother Denise Joyce Reid, father Rodney Maxwell Reid and brother to Brad. Denise tells of a difficult birth, and after an eventful marathon 15-hour labour, Andrew was helped to enter the world and into the arms of his loving family. Denise bonded with the newly born Andrew immediately, and this instant love made for a strong, lifelong bond between mother and son. Andrew's safe arrival was welcomed by us all, and he completed our family. Mum, Dad and I had moved into Martin Street to make a life together, and Andrew arrived within a year of us moving in. As a baby and a toddler, Andrew's personality shone through immediately. He was an old soul that smiled well before he could talk. He had a cheeky grin and a smile that lit up the room. Andrew's first word was Dad, followed very quickly by a collection of swear words. And I remember that myself. This became Andrew's first joke. He would swear and then laugh, a giggle I still remember, and he would eagerly look for the awkward smile in the adult's face. He didn't know what the word was, but he definitely loved an audience and seeing their reaction. Dad used to blame Peter Ditcham for Andrew's potty mouth. Andrew was his dad's shadow and followed him everywhere, always at the ready with his toddler-sized fire hat on, and he would often run to Mum for a cuddle just to keep close. He was much loved and made our little family complete. Andrew's wit, charm, humour and kindness shone through. These were all things that I greatly admired in him, and he possessed these qualities right up to the day he passed. Even as a child, Andrew was generous, and although we didn't have much money, he would give his toys away to other kids and cousins to take home when they came to visit, thinking that they needed them more than him. Brent Target, I think, ended up with a few that he had hidden away for him when he would come to visit. A tale of Andrew's cheekiness was one hot summer's day. Peter and Marianne Ditcham had decided a spot of naked sunbathing would be a good idea. They set up our tarpaulin for privacy and proceeded to enjoy the sun. After a while, Peter looked up to see a young Andrew clutching the side of the tarp, peering over. Peter asked Andrew, "What are you doing there, mate?" Andrew, in his 6-year-old voice, said, "Just sticky beacon. I'll get down when I stop sticky beacon." Andrew would follow Brad around, always wanting to be with the big kids of Martin Street. We had a free childhood where we could roam the streets, enjoy the creeks and swim at the beach. I remember a time when I was carrying him in the ocean and just jumping waves. That was until I trod on a stingray. I hurtled Andrew into the air and probably towards the stingray, but I walked on water to save myself. Andrew was well known in Martin Street, and as a young kid, that would follow him into adulthood. He had very close friendships with the Lee, Thomas, French, Diprose and Ditcham families. The kids of Martin Street had many naughty adventures that Mum and Dad never found out about. We all had a happy childhood together, hanging at the beach, getting up to mischief on the railway tracks and in the back paddock, and we had too many dangerous misadventures to recount. We even invented the rapid ride, our very own wet and wild, in the tunnels that ran under the airport. Sounds dangerous. I remember one adventure when Andrew was about 8 years old. We were fishing for tiddlies on the railway track when Andrew screamed out that he could see a bloody big eel. With the biggest grin on his face and full of laughter and excitement, he reached down into the river and pulled out a massive black eel. I was excited too until I could see the snake head that he was holding just a few centimetres from his face. I screamed, "It's a snake!" And Andrew then just hurled the snake directly at me actually, and both of us raced home screaming like girls all the way. As kids growing up, we spent a lot of time at Nan Reid's with the family on Sundays, hanging out with the cousins. I remember Andrew getting into lots of trouble with the Wilcox family, Melissa, Craig and Sam. Sam recalls Andrew as a prankster, a person she could rely on to help set up a practical joke. When Sam was 6, they were at the forestry and decided to pick up a big rock together, throw it into the creek from the bridge and wait to see if someone would come running. Sam hid behind a tree, and to Auntie Lindy's horror, Andrew played out the shock of Sam falling into the creek from the bridge. They thought it was hilarious, especially when Sam stepped out from behind a tree just to find a horrified mother standing there. Andrew was a great actor and comedian, and this was a skill he taught himself from a young age and stayed with him into his adult life. Andrew really didn't like school. He actually became an escape artist because of a certain grade 2 teacher that tortured him, and her name was Mrs. Griffin, for any of you that can remember. Oh, sounds like she was well known. Andrew used to escape all the time from English primary. Mum recalls taking Andrew to school. He would wait for a bit and then sneak back home behind Mum. He became very good at this. Andrew's dislike of school continued into high school. To be fair, the structure of school and having to ride the Fentons bus were not great motivators to get anyone there. Wynyard High was a place where Andrew developed lifelong friendships with many of you sitting here today. There were staff at high school that he really loved, including Mr. Massey, and this positively impacted him and made him want to go to school. Although Reid didn't like school, he loved his friends and his schoolmates loved him. His humour, wit and quick tongue helped him navigate high school. One classmate recalls the times that Wynyard High had their school socials. As soon as AC/DC was playing, he would be up and headbanging, dancing and getting everyone up to thrash it out to Thunderstruck or Highway to Hell. Andrew loved football, and it was well known that he was a passionate Essendon supporter. At school, Andrew got to play footy. Uncle Willie recalls a time when Reid was playing mini-league, saying he wasn't the most gifted player, but he would go very hard. Uncle Willie was umpiring a game when Andrew was pushed in the back in the goal square. He received a free kick on the goal line. This should have been his moment of glory. Andrew lined up and he kicked that ball out of bounds on the full. He had spectacularly missed the goal. He then yelled out at the top of his lungs, "Fucking chicken feed ball!" He was sent off for swearing, of course, but everyone was laughing. If you didn't already know, Reid had a little sister. Ellen Flight was with us every weekday for years. She wasn't technically a cousin, but she was very much part of our family. Ellen recalls being allowed to wake Andrew up each morning, and this was something she enjoyed doing each day until he became a teenager. No one wants to wake up a grumpy teenager. Ellen would then just sit at his door and patiently wait for him to wake up. She recalls how they would try and hang out with him and follow him and his mates around. One time he even snuck her to the beach, to Mum's horror. He loved Ellen so much and will be watching over her. He is so proud of the lady that she is and will be guiding and protecting Xander, Layla, Isla and the new arrival to Ellen's clan. When Andrew was 21, he set out on an adventure to settle in Perth, Western Australia. There I got to witness Andrew as a man, and the world was his oyster. This is where we became very close, and he gained another brother in my partner, Steve. He came to stay with us at Lord Street, but soon had his own townhouse, and later he and Tash moved in together as housemates. Tash recalls this as one of the happiest and safest times in her life, living with Reid. He made a lot of new friends that loved him, and we had so much fun. Parties, laughs, and many misadventures were had. We all loved our life in Perth together. We all relied on each other, and we kept each other safe. Andrew worked as a security guard in Perth and also as a nightclub bouncer, but not many of you probably know that he also worked in a shoe shop that designed shoes. He got to design a few pairs of shoes himself that went on to be mass-produced. He actually really loved shoes and had a collection that surpassed that of anyone I know. When in Perth, Andrew almost became a professional fireman. He worked so hard to get there, and he kind of became an adopted member of the Perth Fire Brigade during his training. He'd often just hang out at the station with the fireys. He was so close to becoming a fireman, and Perth was so competitive, they really encouraged him to reapply, but Andrew was pretty heartbroken he didn't make it. We also got to work together, and we worked at staging connections that created big events with big touring shows that came to Perth, like Robbie Williams, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and many more. At the end of the day, no matter how much he enjoyed Perth, Reid was a Tassie boy at heart and decided after a few years he wanted to be back home, closer to Mum and Dad. This is where he rebuilt his life as one of the most memorable characters of Wynyard. His love of his mates was always evident when he would tell me stories about them and what adventures they had got up to. I would often hear of tales from Reid about Chatty and Nigel and the things that they got up to, but I won't be telling you any of that today, or maybe later at the Bowls Club. When asking everyone to give their stories and thoughts on Reid, I have had the same response. You've all kind of hit a wall. I understand that you're all in shock, but each and every one of you has mentioned Andrew's awesome wit and humour and tales of how big his heart was. He would do things for people that no one knew. He was kind and wore his heart on his sleeve. He did things without wanting anything in return. Before Nan Flight passed away, I found out later that he would secretly visit her early in the morning at Spencer Hospital each day, a time that he cherished. He just spent time with her, hanging out and making her laugh, and this meant the world to Nan. Andrew became a strong man and supported us through some of the darkest times of our lives. You all know the story of Dad and the years leading up to this year, and Andrew was the rock of our family. He was the one that silently sat by, keeping everything good. He loved his mum and dad so much, and he tried to be the glue that kept us safe. Some may know he developed some anxiety issues due to life, but over the years of caring for Mum and Dad, he developed a management system to cope. He healed himself because Andrew thought more of others than himself and he just had to get on with it. He kept us calm and reassured after Dad's death. He looked after us and we are broken without him now. I know that most of you do have a story about Andrew or Reid as he was known to you, a personal story, a joke he has played or a nickname he called you. We know that he has left a hole in each person's heart, and we know that Wynyard will not be the same without him strolling the streets with his coffee, searching for antiques to restore, or sitting on the park bench with his mates. I want to share one last prank he was planning to pull on you all. There has been a mention on Facebook from Sam about wearing a wolf mask to scare her as a child. A few weeks ago, he got me to order something from Amazon that came in the post the day I got back to Wynyard. And it was this. He wanted to get dressed up as an old man and sit on the park bench waiting for his mates to sit down and prank them as an old creepy man. He actually had a summer edition which included some latex prosthetic balls, and he was going to be wearing shorts so that the prosthetic balls could be sitting on the park bench dangling next to him. Okay, we want you all to remember Andrew's honour, humour, integrity and loyalty to his friends and family. His genuine laugh and big heart. Take comfort in knowing he has got a crowd up there. He is with Nan and Pop Flight, Anthony, Nan and Pop Reid, Nan Dobson, Uncles Daryl, Richard, Wayne, Percy, Jeff, Doug, Artie, Dennis and Auntie Eileen and other friends and family who have gone before. Dad didn't have to wait long for you, mate. We will miss you both down here. Hold each other close and we'll see you soon. Go the Bombers. Sorry, Fish. Thank you.
keeping myself this way. Life is ours, we live it our way. All these words I don't just say, and nothing else matters. Trust I seek and I find in you. Every day for us something new. Open mind for a different view, and nothing else matters. Never cared for what they say, never cared for games they play, never cared for what they do, never cared for what they know. And I know, yeah, yeah. So close, no matter how far. Couldn't be much more from the heart. Forever trusting who we are. No, nothing else matters. You held my hand and then you slipped away, and I may never see your face again. So tell me how to fill the emptiness inside without love. What is life? And anyone who knew us both can see we always were the better part of me. I never wanted to be this free, but all this pain, does it go away? Then every time I turn around and you're nowhere to be found, I know I got a long, long way to go before I can say goodbye to you. Oh, I got a long, long way, I know, before I can say goodbye. times. Oh, and even though I feel the pain, I know that I will love again. The time will come, oh, and I'll move on. I got a long, long way to go before I can say goodbye to you. Oh, I got a long way to go before I can say goodbye. Say goodbye to all I ever knew. I got a long way to go before I say goodbye. Say goodbye. Before I can say goodbye, but I wish you the best, my love. Oh, and all of the rest. I got a long
Thanks, Amanda, for coming forward and sharing the family's eulogy. Thanks, Brad and Denise, for putting it all together for us today. And so we have started to remember Andrew. We've remembered him with our words, in our thoughts, the choices of the music that we're listening to, and the photos that we have just seen. But we have to prepare to let him go from our care. This doesn't mean that we forget who Andrew was. We will all remember him. You'll remember him when you hear an AC/DC song. You'll remember him when you drive into Wynyard and see Table Cape off in the distance. You'll remember Andrew when you see Essendon run onto the football field. And you'll remember him when you tell or when you hear a good joke. You will remember Andrew for all of the things that made him the man that he was to you. Your son, your brother and brother-in-law, your friend. I ask you to remember that grieving is bits of many things. It's memories and reminders, each of which bears its own special weight in your own journey. Each bit must be gone through patiently, silently, sometimes painfully, as one goes through old things collected over many years, considering each one separately, remembering it, understanding it, and putting it away in some new box within your heart. Healing too is bits of many things, smiles that multiply as the days go on, memories that warm your heart. A day will come when there will be more bits of healing than of grieving, and the reasons for happiness will begin to pile up again. I'd like to offer some words of thanks. I want to thank you, Amanda, for coming up here earlier and delivering the eulogy, and for all of your continued support to Denise and to Brad. I want to thank Brad especially for putting together the service booklet for today's service in memory of Andrew. I'd like to thank the carriers, Ellen, who was like a little sister to Andrew, his best mates, Warwick, Nigel and Tony, his brother and brother-in-law, Brad and Steve. To carry someone on their final journey is not an easy job, and you've all done it so well, and I'm sure Andrew would be so proud. And to all of you here today, I thank you. Thank you for being here in support and in sharing this time with Andrew's family, and for your support for both now and into the future. And finally to you, Andrew, for all of the things that made you, you, the special, unique person that we've loved and that we continue to love. Thank you for being an amazing son, your love, your care, your support of Denise these last months, especially after your collective loss of Rodney, husband and dad, earlier this year. Thank you for being the best little brother to Brad, from mischievous, cheeky little kids to growing up and becoming best mates, developing a great relationship with each other. Thank you, Andrew, for having a softer side. Maybe you didn't show everyone, and maybe it couldn't always be seen from the outside, but it was there, just under the surface. The secret visits to your nan, as we heard when she was in hospital before she passed away. For your collection of antiques, for your restoration. We thank you, Andrew, for the lives that you saved. I don't know the full stories, but there are 2 people whose lives were much longer simply by your presence and your actions. Thank you for being a fixture of your hometown, for always having a smile and a friendly word when you were out and about. For your love of a practical joke, your quick wit, your awesome, infectious sense of humour. These, Andrew, are just some of the things that we thank you for and that we will miss about you. Essentially, what we're doing today is the putting away of Andrew's body. We deeply love and respect his body. It's what his parents, Rodney and Denise, gave him. It carried around his spirit, himself, for some 40 years. But now the thing that drove those eyes, the thing that gave us his smile, the laugh that none of us will ever forget, the thing that made his body run and swim and dance and sing, the thing that knew you and let you know him, the thing that enlivened his body, Andrew, is gone. But that thing will never be completely lost to us, because we all have a little bit of it stuck inside of us, and we will have too, until one day we find ourselves in a place like this, with a person like me clumsily reading words over our own coffins. Until then, we won't forget Andrew. We'll think a little bit like him. We'll act a bit like him. We'll laugh at the same things that he'd laugh at, and probably sometimes we'll cry a bit because of him. He'll visit us in our dreams, and we'll think we overheard his voice in a crowd, and tears will form. But so will smiles, because we'll smile the smile of someone who has had the honour of knowing Andrew Reid. And maybe that's what makes him so special to us. But for now, he remains locked up inside of us, warm in our hearts, safe in our love. Let him rest there. Let him ride with you. Take him away with you today, and remember what moved you about Andrew. Be stronger for him. Be better. Be kinder. Your son, your brother and brother-in-law, your mate, your Andrew. And so, Andrew, we say goodbye to your physical presence amongst us. And so we commit you now. We commit you to our hearts, to our minds, and to our memories. We commit to the telling of your stories so that others will know you better. We commit to loving you from now until eternity. And we commit to supporting each other through our loss of you. And gently and tenderly, we commit you to be taken from this place, for your earthly form to be cremated, eventually to return to the earth, the rivers, the streams, the sandy deserts, and the cool damp forests. All of these places, Andrew, will be your final resting place. An Eskimo proverb puts it like this: perhaps they're not stars, but rather openings in heaven, where the love of our lost ones poured through and shined down upon us to let us know that they're happy. I'd like you to remind you of the family's invitation to join them at the Wynyard Bowls Club in Park Street for a time of refreshment, a time of support, and maybe to share a joke or two with each other. And finally, to close, a reading that Brad chose that says, "We little knew that morning God was going to call your name. In life we loved you dearly, in death we do the same. It broke our hearts to lose you, you did not go alone, for part of us went with you the day you were called home. You left us beautiful memories, your love is still our guide, and though we cannot see you, you are always at our sides. Our family chain is broken, and nothing seems the same, but as God calls us one by one, that chain will link again." Ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand?
See the bombers fly up, up to win the premiership flag. Our boys who play this grand old game are always striving for glory and fame. See the bombers fly up, up. The other teams they don't fear. They all try their best, but they can't get near as the bombers fly up. Flag. Our boys who play this grand old game are always striving for glory and fame. See the bombers fly up, up. The other teams they don't fear. They all try their best, but they can't get near as the bombers fly on. Flag. Our boys who play this grand old game are always striving for glory and fame. See the bombers fly up, up. The other teams they don't fear. They all try their best, but they can't get near as the bombers fly up. Flag. Our boys who play this grand old game are always striving